my name is Tegan. I'm a third-year mechanical engineer.
I'm Karen, and I'm also a third-year mechanical engineer.
So our project is Solar Decathlon. We're Team Orange County, and then our house's name is Casa del Sol, so that's what you'll see right here. And we're comprised of 4 different schools. So we have UC Irvine, Chapman, Irvine Valley College, and Saddleback College. We're going to give you some background about Solar Decathlon, an overview about what we've been doing, our work in progress, and then organization and advice. So Solar Decathlon started in 2002 in Washington, D.C., and it's a biannual competition, so it happens every 2 years. 2013 competition got moved to the Great Park in Irvine, and then 2015 is going to also be in Irvine. Something that I would recommend as some advice is Solar Decathlon came with a bunch of rules and regulations to read up and be knowledgeable throughout your competition ahead of time about what you want to do in your goals towards the end, because if you don't know what the rules are, you're going to end up wasting a bunch of time going back and remodeling what you're going to be doing. So we have a bunch of different work groups within UCI, IBC, Chapman, and Saddleback. Mainly UCI is in charge of the engineering aspects, and that's what me and Karen are in charge of, is the mechanical and power.
I would like to add that we are just one team out of a lot of different teams, and that means that communication is a real challenge for us because our system needs to be integrated with a lot of different other team systems. And if one of those teams, say, has bad leadership and we're not communicating well with them, that causes a lot of problems later on in the project when we're trying to integrate all those systems together and you're like, well, this doesn't work, and now you have to go redesign. So staying on top of communication and collaborating with other teams who need to integrate with your system is very important.
Okay, so here's one of our initial designs of the house, because each house is going to be located in different sections. So we chose our spot on this corner right here and coordinated with like the sun path and the winds going through the home, and from there created our narrative for the house to be a very open Southern Orange County feel for our house. We also wanted to incorporate a lot of innovative technology, so smart grid with controls. So we have our controls team working on when to turn on and off the HVAC system of the home. So heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is what HVAC stands for. Doing energy management, so we do have to allocate certain requirements towards charging our car versus using other appliances in the home, or like running the HVAC again. And then we also have a 3D printed room in the house where you can, say if some part of the house breaks or you lose a fork or something, you can reprint that item.
So the innovative technology right here, it's more than just cool. These are designed specifically to target different areas of the competition where we can earn points. So for example, having the 3D printed home is going to play well with the judges who like seeing this like fun, new, innovative technology. They're bored of the same old, and this is something different that will catch their attention. And the smart grid integration, because we have a very tight energy budget, all of our electric power is coming from solar panels, then every time you convert from DC to AC, you lose 10% of that electricity. So having this smart grid to avoid having to make those conversions really helps add a lot of electricity into our energy budget.
So for the 2015 competition, that's different from the 2013, is that we have to charge an electric car on top of having our HVAC running. So that takes up a big chunk of our energy. As you can see from this diagram, this whole section that's in dark blue over here is for charging the car and driving it. So on top of charging it each day, we also have to drive 25 miles. And then we have our HVAC system. So running throughout the home and keeping it within a 71 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit temperature throughout the house.
I'd like to point out 71 to 76 is a very small range in which to keep your home. Typically you'd be okay going down to like 68 degrees in the winter, you'd just bundle up. But for the purposes of this competition, we have a much smaller target, which makes this a lot more challenging for us.
So that's something our team had to come up with, is a creative way to alleviate what we have for the energy budget and move it towards a thermal budget that we have. So we incorporated a radiant ceiling and water into our HVAC system in order to not use as much energy, and we can use that towards different parts of our home and not have to be worried about going over the budget that we have for the competition. here's some initial renderings that we have of our home. And then here is some stuff that we have that's more advanced, as well as a fly-through of the house. This sound's probably not gonna work. Can you guys hear it okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Team Orange County's Casa del Sol is an innovative, net-zero energy home that draws inspiration from the California state flower, the golden poppy. This California state flower opens and closes as it adjusts to the light of the sun, a method emulated by Casa del Sol in order to promote the indoor-outdoor California lifestyle. Passive solar design uses appropriate shading and natural ventilation to allow our home to open and close to the sun. Thanks to this flexibility in design, the walls can also adjust in order to change room size or quantity, thus allowing for multi-generational living or a possible rental. Team Orange County's home addresses ecological concerns and helps meet the need for affordable housing in Southern California. Our modern design makes a sustainable future feel like home.
So we hired a voiceover person for that until.
It
So
has offered endless amusement
very
to our team.
theatrical, yes.
I will also point out that this is not just for funsies, it is something that we have to submit for our competition.
Yeah, so if you go to solardecathlon.gov, you'll see it on our section for Team Orange County. As you can tell, the house is very intricate, so that requires a lot of money to bring funding to create a 1,000 square foot home. We have a lot of impact on industry and have had a lot of sponsors. Thankfully, we've had McParland and Associates help directly with Mechanics in Power, like hand on hand. We have our mentor Chris, who comes to our meetings, and we can call him and email him whenever we'd like, and he has contacts for things that we would need, such as water source heat pump or pumps, where we can use donations through his contacts to help us with not using as much money that we've raised. So something that I would recommend is to try to analyze how much your project is going to be, and then try to raise funds as soon as possible, because you never know how much you're going to need, and you always want to make sure you have enough money and you're not going to run out, because you never really know if there's an error and you need to get something new or something runs wrong and you break it. You need to make sure that you have enough funding to make up for it so you can finish your project.
Yeah, that's something we definitely did right. We do not have to worry about our budget at all, at least as far as how much we spend. Part of the competition is keeping the cost of the house low, so we have to worry about budget in that way. But if we buy something and it doesn't work out, the money, we can afford it, and that really helps a lot for us, especially when it comes to testing. You can buy testing materials without worrying about running out of money.
Yeah, another thing is that when you're engineering something on a computer program, it's not going to always be exactly what you do when you test it in person. So you can engineer something as much as you like, but there's always some errors that you're going to probably neglect when you have it running in a simulation versus in real life. So that's something that we like to be grateful for, that, hey, we need like another pump, or hey, this is the wrong size. We can go and repurchase that just for testing it.
So this is our HVAC model, and it is a fluid system. We do have a small ducted backup air system, but the majority of the heating and the cooling is going to be done through thermal energy stored in hot and cold water tanks. So we have solar thermal collectors that collect heat radiated from the sun into a hot water tank, and we pipe that through the ceiling to heat the house. We use a radiant ceiling because the majority of our heating and cooling loads are cooling loads, and cooling is more efficient from the ceiling because you can take advantage of that natural convection in addition to the radiation. And we also have this really cool brand new invention called the SWEC. It's a sub-wet bulb evaporative chiller. It's incredibly efficient, and it cools water through evaporation, and that's what's powering our cold water tank. We also have a backup water-to-water heat pump to either add additional heat to the hot water tank or additional cooling to the cold water tank as needed. So one of the biggest challenges we had with this system was actually procuring everything, and figuring out like, what size tank do you need? Do you need these valves? Like, how do you control this? And we're still working on that because the project isn't going to be complete until October when we compete and hopefully win. And this design, it took us a long time to get to this design. When we started in the fall, we were in a completely different direction, and over the next few months, starting in October, we completely changed directions, and that was very unforeseen. We expected to be a lot farther along at this point, but when we changed our design, and this is a better design, this is more efficient, especially since we're decreasing the electrical loads and increasing moving that load to thermal power, which is very efficient. But it really set us back, and things like that are going to happen to you, and you just need to expect them and keep moving. Don't get discouraged.
Yeah. So it kind of falls into the whole process of, you have your project, you need to make sure that it's being procured on time, you need to make sure the lead time, like, we needed to call each of the companies and make sure that when we ordered something, how long it would take for them to actually make that product and ship it over to us. And then our construction schedule, make sure we have enough time for like leaving a 1 or 2 few days before we actually move our house to the competition site. So we don't have any problems, like say we did all this last minute and decided to move everything the day of, and that would create a bunch of issues for us. What if we didn't have the stilts a high enough size that we needed to? So that's something always to do, is just plan, communicate, and budget everything properly.
And procurement is something you should get on immediately. At the beginning of the year, back in October, we felt like we had forever to try to procure these things. You know, looking to purchase something from a company overseas wasn't a big deal, because if it took 3 months to get here, well, we had 3 months to wait for it to get here. We weren't going to be ready to start constructing for a while, because first you have to build the frame of the house. So we had a lot of time to play with, but we got closer and closer to our deadline, and then suddenly you have less options from where you can purchase parts, because a 2-month lead time is not acceptable anymore. You need it to be already made and being shipped and getting here in 2 weeks, and that really limits your options. So get on procurement as soon as possible.
So in terms of how we organize this quarter for our whole entire team with communications, and like Karen, just go ahead and take the lead on this.
So we started this quarter with new leadership. That was me, because our previous lead got a full-time job and wasn't available anymore. That happens, you know? You have someone who's really integral to your team and they leave, and you have to pick up the pieces and keep moving forward. And we also had a lot of other people leave as well from our team. You know, they had been helping us out, but then other things became a priority for them and they had to leave, and that happens. So I feel like we've done pretty good with the organization this quarter, but we definitely suffered from not having as many members. One thing that has really helped has been making sure that it's very clear what each person's task is and when it is due, and getting that precedent set from the beginning. So, you know, back in October, you know, maybe we were a little lax with the deadlines, you know. You have a week to do this, if it takes 2 weeks, no big deal. But when it's May, then if you're missing your deadlines, that becomes a really big problem. So I feel like if we would have set a precedent of being harsher with deadlines from the beginning, then we would be seeing better performance from everybody on our team, including ourselves. Set that precedent for yourself, set that precedent for other people on your team. And communication is a problem. It's always a problem. It's not something that should be an afterthought. It should be a priority. Without communication, all the engineering skills in the world will not make your project come together. And we're learning, we're working on that. The team leads are very integral to communication. You know, you have somebody who's focusing on researching or designing one specific part of the system. They're not thinking about reaching out to the guy next to him who's working on something that's later on going to be integrated into that system. So as team leads, you need to be the person facilitating that contact between different people working on different aspects of the project.
And then just to go over the plans for our house. So we are constructing over the summer, we have a competition, and then afterwards the house is planning to be donated over to the New York City Hills site, and so Gladison is actually going to take over and make it a learning facility for people to walk through with a big Gladison banner on top of it. So yeah, so this is the end of our presentation. Just some pictures of our team, and this was our opening ceremony with the mayor of Irvine. So, do you guys have any questions?